Anybody who has ever traveled to Pittsburgh would be remiss if they didn't see the 42-story skyscraper called the Cathedral of Learning, which is the centerpiece of the University of Pittsburgh-Oakland campus. This Gothic revival-style building offers more than some of the many campus classrooms, but the nationality rooms offer a glimpse into life and culture around the world. The nationality rooms include 31 rooms decorated reminiscent of countries from the Far East, including Korea, China, and the Philippines, across Asia, including India, Armenia, and Israel, into Africa, through many countries of Europe. Many of these are working classrooms, but we didn't have to travel far because it was the early American room that stopped us dead in our tracks. Prior to the pandemic, every December the university would decorate each of the rooms in a style that would be consistent with the way those countries celebrate the holiday season in their traditional manner. For example, the African room would be decorated for Kwanzaa, the Israel room for Hanukkah, and the others for Christmas as they celebrate. The early American room is detailed with 1600s furnishings. A huge stone fireplace dominates the room, complete with heavy iron kettles, a shovel, utensils, and a gridiron. This room is the only one with 2 levels. The upstairs is accessed through a hidden passage. A secret latch next to the fireplace must be released, which opens a panel in the wall and reveals stairs going upward. The upstairs is completely fitted out as an early American bedroom. It was before Christmas, but late in the season when the room was still open for visitors. Because the tours are self-guided, at that moment, we were the only ones in the room. All of a sudden, we heard a loud crash, similar to someone striking a gong. I jumped, and my immediate thought was, "Oh my God, my autistic son must have whacked something. Thank God no one else was in the room." The sound must have resonated down the hall because in walked one of the staff. When she asked us what happened, I started to say that my autistic son must have hit one of the iron kettles. As I glanced at the doorway, I noticed that my son wasn't even in the room. He and my husband were probably 20 feet down the hallway and nowhere close to the gridiron or the kettles. Completely perplexed, I turned to her and said I had no idea what just happened. Without even hesitating, the woman turned and addressed an empty room, saying, "Martha, these people mean you no harm. They just want to see what an early American room would look like at Christmas." Because none of us was named Martha, we had no idea to whom she was talking. I was just relieved we didn't cause the commotion. She donated quite a few of her personal belongings to the university, and with them came the resident ghost. One day, Mrs. Bruns decided to go into the early American room. She felt around the fireplace until she located the secret latch. When we got home that evening, we researched the early American room and learned exactly who Martha was. Apparently, the strange occurrences in that room began almost 30 years earlier. The director of the nationality rooms was E. Maxine Bruns, serving since 1965. When she pulled it, the secret panel swung open and she ascended the stairs to the bedroom. In the bedroom, there is an antique 4-poster rope bed with a pretty red and green hand-stitched quilt. To the right of the bed is a small cradle. Mrs. Bruns believes that one of the entities that inhabit this space is that of her grandmother Martha Jane Poe, who began to haunt the space when Bruns donated her grandmother's items to decorate the space. Witnesses have seen the cradle begin rocking on its own. With regards to the bed, the quilt that covers it is an 1878 wedding quilt that used to adorn the bed of Waitman Worthington McDaniels and Martha Poe in the early years of their marriage. One day, while tidying up the bedroom, custodian John Carter noticed that the quilt was rumpled. He smoothed it out and turned to go only to hear a whoosh sound behind him. He turned around and saw that the quilt had been pulled down and the pillow had an imprint of a head on it. In the mid-90s, the entire tour group reported smelling fresh bread baking in the fireplace, which hasn't been used since the 1940s. Others have reported suddenly seeing candles light on their own. One woman even reported seeing a woman with her hair pulled back while wearing an apron. With all these paranormal stories surrounding this room, several years ago, Mrs. Bruns decided to spend the night in a sleeping bag at the foot of the bed. Upon settling in for the night, she called out, "I'm here, Grandma. I'm all alone now if you want to contact me." Just as she was drifting off to sleep, Bruns heard the swish of the material above her 2 times. Then, something crashed onto the floor near her head. Finally, she mustered the courage to turn on her flashlight. She found that the quilt had been pulled back, and a water bottle that she placed in her overnight bag had somehow fallen to the floor. Mrs. Bruns called out, "Grandma, you can have this damn room." She quickly packed up and went home. The University of Pittsburgh no longer allows visitors to enter the early American room. There is a clear doorway where you can peer into the room. Is this because of Martha? I'm guessing yes.